Welcome to Thotis University. In this video, we will be interviewing an international student from ESCP. Welcome.
Thank you.
Can you introduce yourself?
So my name is Nora. I'm from Norway, and I'm studying a master in management at ESCP. Just finished my first year.
So what made you choose this field of study and ESCP?
I chose this field of study because I really like the international aspect of it and how you could move around campuses each semester. So it can be one semester in Paris, one in Madrid, one in Berlin. You could take a lot of specializations, have languages. And ESCP I chose because it was really good with the rankings. It was a good school in France, and I want to live in France after my studies. So I think it was a perfect school for me and my career.
And so how did you discover this school?
I really wanted to study in Paris, so I was just browsing through different websites. And ESCP was the one that I liked the most of everyone that I looked at, to be honest. So yeah, that's how I found ESCP.
And so you mentioned you really wanted to study in France, so why France over other countries?
I've always had a deep love for France, and my family has an apartment in the south of France. So I went there to study French a few years ago, but it was disrupted by COVID, so I knew I always wanted to come back to France. So that's why I decided to come to France for a master's degree.
So what were your expectations about life and study in France before arriving?
I felt like France was a country where they take things more slow, to be honest. But when I came here, when it comes to like school and stuff, it's a lot going on and it's not that chill. It's a lot of exams, a lot of projects at the same time. So yeah, I had to work a lot, so it's that surprised me. And also, people said that Parisians are very like ignorant or like arrogant and that kind of stuff. But I did not get that expression after I moved here. People are really nice and friendly, so it's really nice.
So how did you apply to ESCP?
I applied online. It was a whole process where we had to send in motivational letters, it was grades. We had an interview and different tests, like the TOEFL test to see like your English level, and it was a test to like see how your logic thinking test kind of. So yeah, it was a long process.
So tell me more about the interview.
So it was an online interview with me and two from ESCP. It was conversational, but it was also like questions for me and then give your best answers and follow-up questions. So it was a little bit scary, I remember, because sometimes I would say something and they would have more questions to go deeper, and if I didn't know the answer, I was like, but so I was like a little bit afraid that I messed it up, but it was all right, yeah, it was fun.
So how would you describe the MiM program at ESCP overall?
So the MiM program, it's a program that goes over 2 years, plus we have 9 months of internships. We have 5 different campuses where we can change from each semester as we like, and we have different specializations. So after the first semester with core courses, you can specialize in what interests you the most. So this semester I specialize in Customer Centric Marketing here in Paris, which I found really helpful and I think will help me in my future career.
So what were the most important or interesting classes that you studied so far?
I found marketing communication really interesting, which is a class I had this semester. We get to learn a lot about like PR and like if there's crisis, how do you deal with that? And yeah, just deepen my knowledge in that, which I found really interesting because I really want to work within this field when I'm done at ESCP. Also, brand management. I find it really interesting how brands can get people to pay so much more for a product that's really similar to another product. You can like pay 10 times more for it. So to learn how people can perceive consumers to do that was really interesting. I've also had data analytics, where we learned to use the tool data to figure out how different products perform in the market. And I found that also really interesting. I was not normally like an analytical person, but it was really cool to actually get to learn it, and it was not as scary as I first thought it would be.
Could you give me a concrete example of a project or a topic that you recently worked on?
Yes, in my ethnography class, me and my group, we were analyzing the Gucci perfume Flora. We were doing this project with this company who had their own tool to do this. So it was really interesting to use that tool and to see how the perfume performed in the market compared to other perfumes, and also give concrete recommendations on how they could improve. And I found that really interesting because you got to see like the practical side of it and to do something that these companies actually do in real life compared to just the theoretical projects we've had.
So what does a typical week look like?
You have school basically every day. Normally you have one day where you don't have any classes. In our first semester where you have core courses, it's a lot of courses, a lot of different courses. So I felt like it was more work to do then. And then for the second semester, when you have a specialization, of course, it's something you're more invested and interested in. So it's more fun, I guess. Like each class, some of them we have like a big like amphitheater, and others we have 40 students. For languages, we usually between 15 to 20 maybe. So it's a big difference between each class.
So in your opinion, what do you think truly makes a difference into succeeding in your program?
I think organization is really important because there's a lot of different courses and a lot of deadlines at the same time. So you really have to have a schedule or planner to actually get your stuff done in time.
So you're from Norway. How does the teaching style differ from France?
In Norway, it's not mandatory to go to class. People do kind of what they want. You have less classes, and it's more about you being able to sit down yourself and study. And it's up to you if you actually know your stuff before the exams. And we have often one big exam at the end of the semester. So that's really different from ESCP, where we have a lot of quizzes, a lot of group projects. And it's not just one exam that detects your whole grade. It's like made out of multiple different projects and yeah. And in Norway, it's more the bigger amphitheaters. You don't really talk that much to your professors unless there's something specific you need help with. Whereas at ESCP, I feel like you get more closer to them and they know your name and they recognize you. So yeah, that's also a big difference.
So what were the key administrative steps that you need to handle when you arrived?
Housing is, of course, an important step. And I found it through Spara Home, which is a site where you find housing. So I found an apartment where I live with an Irish guy and an Italian girl. So it's also quite international in the apartment. Yeah, and besides that, you have insurances, you have like metro cards, all of that kind of stuff you also need to do.
Any challenges during those processes?
For the metro card, I wasn't sure if I'm going to stay here more than one semester. And if you want to get the student card, you have to commit to a year. So I had to commit to that to get the student discount. So the French bureaucracy might be a bit hard and difficult for internationals. For payments, for example, they want checks and the websites. And like you put in your phone number, you have to have a French phone number. It's not always easy to get the help you need if you're an international.
Did you apply for any scholarships or did you receive any financial aid?
Yeah, as I'm from Norway, we have a system there where you can apply to the government where they give you student loans and student scholarships. Yeah, so it's a system that's for every Norwegian. If you study in Norway or if you study abroad, you have the right to receive this loan and this scholarship as long as you pass your classes and you can give confirmation that you're actually following your courses and paid the fee to go there.
How did you manage the transition between Norway and France?
I lived in France for some months when I was 19, so I already was a bit aware of how it worked here in France. But also now and back then, I think the biggest difference is maybe the people. In Norway, you don't talk to strangers. You're kind of in your own bubble and you don't disturb people's personal space. But here it's really like, bonjour, and everyone's talking to you. So yeah, I really enjoy that. It's more me.
Did you face any language barriers?
Yes, I learned French when I lived in Antibes a few years ago, but I'm not fluent, so of course there's lots of barriers sometimes. For example, when I go to Pilates class, they talk a lot about different stuff that I don't understand, and I'm just looking around and trying to like, okay, what are we doing now? So I don't understand everything, of course. So in my day-to-day life, I can manage fine and communicate with the locals, but of course it's something more specific. I don't have the vocabulary or understand exactly what that is. So, but in day-to-day life, yeah, it's all good.
Have you ever felt homesick?
Not really. I do talk to my family a lot though on the phone, so that's all right. But I never really wanted to go back home or didn't miss it like that. But of course, my family also came to see me a month ago, so that was really nice.
So how do you enjoy the student French lifestyle?
I like to meet my friends a lot, to go out to eat at restaurants, cafes, and of course to bars and clubs. That's how I socialize a lot. And at ESCP, we have a lot of student associations that we can join. Personally, I'm a part of one that's called 180 Degrees, where we do consultancy for NGOs. So that's also really interesting, and you get to know a lot of people. There's also like kind of trips that's organized through student societies. So in February, I went to Italy, where we went on a ski trip with a lot of ECB students. And I'm going to Regatta, which is like a sailing trip, now in May in Italy. So that's also really, really fun.
Was it easy or challenging to connect with people, so French or internationals?
I think it was easy. I have both French friends and other international friends. I think also a lot of that is because we go to ESCP, which is a really like a very international school. So even the French people are quite international, and everyone knows English, and everyone has had international experiences before. So it's also everyone's quite open-minded and easy to get to know.
So what are the next steps for you?
Now I'm applying for internships for next semester within marketing. So everything like has to do with events, communication, PR, product management, yeah, a little bit of different stuff. So I'm excited for that. And after that, I really aspire to go to Madrid for my third semester, where there's a communication specialization that I'm really interested in taking. And then I want to finish in Paris for the fourth semester.
And what are your plans after graduation?
After graduation, I really want to settle down here in Paris. Find a job within communication maybe. We'll see where life takes me, but yeah, that's the plan for now.
So how has France, and more specifically ESCP, shaped your personal and professional goals?
I believe meeting all these different people with different perspectives, with different cultures, languages, experiences has really helped me get a deeper understanding and made me more open-minded, and especially open-minded to live here in France and to actually be able to create a life outside of my own country.
If you could change or improve anything about your international student experience, what would it be?
I believe it's enjoying life even more, because you get into this bubble where you go to school, you go to the gym, you go home and eat, and sometimes you forget that you actually live in Paris and you have all this amazing stuff, so much to do here. So I think that would be to just enjoy even more.
And lastly, what advice would you give to someone who is dreaming to study in France and in ESCP?
I believe to not be afraid. It's going to be great. It's super fun. You're going to make friends. And also maybe try to learn the culture, try to be open-minded, try to learn a bit of the language, and you'll do great.
Thank you very much for your insights and your testimony, and see you soon on Thotis University.